Hello, everybody. Welcome to Check-in with PRB. This is me. Today, I am very, very happy to have a local hospitality leader that's been around for over 2 decades, right, Bertin?
Correct.
So Bertin and I know each other for quite a long time. We have worked together. We saw each other in different occasions, and we bumped into each other in San Francisco in different hotels, in different associations and meetings. And Bertin is really extremely resourceful, very knowledgeable about the hospitality industry and the Northern California market. So I'm very happy to have Bertin with us today. Hello, Bertin. How are you today?
Good morning, Pierre. Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. It's a great honor. I'm very happy to join your program this morning. Thank you.
The honor is ours, is mine. So, Bertin, if you don't mind, I just want to introduce you in a few seconds, just for people to know who you are. I just did, but I'm going to add a little bit more. You're already from San Francisco. As I was saying, you know the market very well. You studied at San Francisco State University, and you did marketing, you did sales, you did customer success, you did a lot of things there. So you studied here in San Francisco as well, not only work, but study here. And you do speak 3 different languages, Italian, Spanish, English, and some French.
Very passionate about the French language, definitely.
Italian, Spanish, and French. So 3 of those Latin languages you do very well. And I can attest from it. If someone doubts it, I'm telling you, he speaks everything. You're very involved with local association, which is great. And we will talk about that as well. And you've been in the industry for over 2 decades, and you worked at property level. You worked for full service, but you worked as well for different small businesses. And now you are going to tell us what you're doing with your consulting agency. So this is you. Bertin, could you tell us how you fell in love with hospitality, and how did you get engaged working with hospitality in our market? How did it start?
Thank you, Pierre. I was very fortunate, actually, that it started very young, and it started as a summer job. I started working at the Red and White Fleet back in the days, doing ticket sales at the box office during summer job. And I really fell in love with it, with the contact and the engage with the different visitors from around the world. That was quite fascinating. So it started as a summer job part-time, and then I was able to continue to work for the company as I carry on through college. And I was very fortunate to work for them for many years. And I was given the opportunity to grow and to learn the different aspect of the business. Back then, we were the big company. We used to have the ferry to Alcatraz, Sausalito, Tiburon, Angel Island. And we're also on Catalina cruises down in Southern California. So that was a great introduction into the industry. I mean, hardcore, right in the heart, the #1 attraction in the city. And then from there, I went on to working in hotels, which was a very nice transition, as most of this, I was looking after the same clients, and I was able to work across the street. Back then, it was the Radisson Hotel Fisherman's Wharf. I was there for many years. Then we deflagged that property and turned it into independent boutique style. And it's now the separate hotel, part of the Pebblebrook Group. And from there, I carry on to work for a small company. We do representation. We do trade, PR, and also marketing. It's called BESI Business Solutions. We usually take care of hotels all over the US, also restaurants, attractions, and hotels here in the city as well. Currently looking after Simcoe Restaurant Group at Pier 39, which is 5 restaurants. It's Fog Harbor, Pier Market, Wipeout, and we recently acquired Crab House as well. I also look after the Cova Hotel. It's a small boutique hotel independent, part of the World Hotels family, located in the Tenderloin. And we are opening a brand new hostel on Larkin in California. So very excited. I also had the opportunity in the past to do some work for Bertin Salas, which is a bike rental company based here in San Francisco and New York as well. And have represented Fillmore Hospitality in the past, and also Academy of Science. So very, very happy to have this opportunity and so an amazing relationship and great partners.
Wow. Hey, now that's an introduction.
I keep busy.
So, I mean, you, what did interest you when you started to work? You know, your first job when you were a student. What did you like? Did you like working with people, helping people out? What guided you through that career in hospitality? What did you like about it? Did you like to
I
help people? What was it that
I
you really
I
enjoyed?
think it was really fascinating and very intrigued to meet people from around the world, and that they were here to have a great time, that they were here on holiday, but there was also like a bridge to communicating, to share my city. I grew up in the city between Mexico and San Francisco, so this is home. I went to high school here in San Francisco to the School of the Arts. So I was really proud to share the city with the guests, and I I also had the opportunity to travel a lot with my parents, so they were passionate about traveling, and it was always an adventure. And I know how it feels to be in a different place where there might be a little bit language barrier. And because I spoke, a couple language, it was a lot easier to communicate, and that was quite fascinating to be able to connect the visitor with my personal experience and to share. Like I was oftentimes sharing where I will go for lunch or where I do, taking a little walk in the area, whatnot. So that really what's I think what really got me into the industry, that opportunity to be able to help and to engage with the visitors from around the world, to meet amazing people and to really curate the experience, so to help them have a great time in our city.
What is the best city in the world, Bertin?
Personally, I think San Francisco. My second up will be Paris, and my third will be Sydney. Those are my three favorite cities in the world from the ones that I have seen and I had the opportunity. I could live in either one of them.
Very nice. Hey, maybe one day you're going to go to Paris or Sydney. Who knows?
Definitely, it's
You
in the
never know.
list.
So you worked for many years at the property level, right? You worked at the Radisson in Fisherman's Wharf. What did you learn from working in a hotel, in a full service? What was the thing you took out from that experience? If you have one or two things that you learned through those many years there, and you may want to say what you were doing, and what did you get out from it?
Yeah, I started with their Radisson Hotel with the market segment that many people fear, which is the SMERF market, which is, the social groups, the military, the fraternities and whatnot. And from there on, I was able to move on to leisure, handle FIT wholesale. Then I actually was promoted to do citywide conventions. And then I eventually became the director of sales for the property. And when I left the property, I was a regional director. I had 5 different properties that I was overseeing on the sales and marketing segment. I would say the most amazing experience, it was working as a team, having to manage a team, keep the team motivated, keep the team going, and also meet their ownership goals, and being able to have a balance between your team and also the expectations for an ownership. That was a great experience for me. I think the customer was always the number one element, and I learned that we needed that customer. It really was the fundamental basics. Without the guests, we didn't have accounting, we didn't have housekeeping, we didn't have any of us working at the property. And I was there during the crisis of the economy, and that was quite a challenge, because we were doing so well, and all of a sudden everything changed. I think my learning experience came from my GM that basically came to me. He says, we need to keep the hotel busy. We need to keep the jobs for everyone. You're not only responsible for sales, but you're also responsible for everyone that works here. So it's our job to continue to keep busy, to keep generating those room bookings, to keep everyone employed. And that was really an eye-opening for me, because I think I was very heavy concentrated on making the goal, selling, promoting and pushing the hotel and pushing the team. And I think oftentimes we forget that we are responsible for so many people behind us, not just meeting your targets, but you are responsible to generating and to keep everyone employed, and to keep them to have the medical benefits, and just as simple as a paycheck. So that was one of my biggest learning experience when I was at the Radisson. It was hard. It was difficult times, but we were able to overcome it and to be very successful event, because I had that in my back of my mind, and the support of my GM as well, that we were so responsible for many people. That was, I think, one of my biggest learning experience that I can say at that time.
That motivated you to exceed and to look at things differently? How did you how did you perform in a stressful environment like this, where the economy is not that great and you feel responsible for a team? What made you able to go through it, and what solution did you come up with? How did you get out from it? Because right now we are in a kind of similar
Yes.
situation, and I'm curious to see what you've done to be able to handle it, on different level. But what did you do to be successful at it?
I think at that time we were enjoying such an amazing big demand. The business was there. We were able to be selective. We said, oh yes, we do this group. Oh no, we don't do that group. Or we don't do it for less than this. I think we were almost like too selective or too cocky, if you will. So we have to actually pivot and basically reimagine and start looking at things different, and making decisions, educated decisions, and much faster. There was no time to do a lot of analysis paralysis. Basically, we had to, get heads in beds, and we started looking, on a way to look at every group business and try to get as much group base into the hotel. And that was a saving grace. I had a good client that I had met in the past. There was a series I'll never forget from India. At that time, it was too budget for a hotel, and the demands in terms of the food and breakfast was too high, so we couldn't meet. So I quickly reached out to this particular client. I said, John, are you still looking for a property? Do we still have a chance? And he says, yes, we're on the final, look at the contracts and the properties in San Francisco. Here's an opportunity, but the budget hasn't gone up. The budget's still the same. I said, okay, happy to look into it. I run it by my GM. I had a lot of support from that GM. He says, yes, let's do it. We're going to need this. Was looking at things like that quickly, making smart decisions without having to super analyze deep every single aspect. And the goal was to get base. And we were able to find and look at things differently. We were no longer looking the same way. You have to be able to evolve. You have to be able to adapt, and you have to be able to be fast. Because if you don't, you're going to miss that opportunity more than ever. And I think we're in the same situation. I think particularly for San Francisco, we're so used to the citywide conventions. We're so used to the international visitors that we have to understand that that's going to return. But for the time being, we need to cater and we need to embrace the new domestic leisure visitor. And we have to look at other things differently. Yes, they can be group, but it has to be smaller. Maybe it's not the type of group that we're used to. Maybe it's not the high-end incentive. Maybe it's a soccer team group that now it's a time to welcome. It's the ladies that do lunch. It's, those groups that before we wouldn't entertain because we consider them too budget or too a different type of group, that it was not the right fit for my property. I think we need to look beyond that. I think definitely that's the key. And we have to embrace it. This is what we have, and this is what we're going to have for a little while. So we have to be very proactive about that.
If that's the advice you will give to properties, you are a consultant with BESI Consulting Services. What will be the main advice you will give to properties right now in Northern California? Let's say in San Francisco, because Northern California, it's so much different, right?
Yes.
If you're looking at Napa, it's probably a lot different than where we are here in San Francisco. So let's focus on San Francisco. What advice would you give to people in the hotel business in San Francisco? Will it be to adapt and to do things differently and to embrace the situation and to make the best out of it?
Definitely, and you're right, currently the situation is very different. The landscape is so diverse. When you look at the Northern California or any coastal area, they're leading the recovery and they're actually doing really well. When you look at Napa, when you look at Santa Cruz, Monterey, they're performing extremely well. They have been breaking records. San Francisco is a different situation. We're an urban destination, so we are perceived different. For sure, we have to embrace it. The current new visitor, which is domestic, is leisure, is within driving distance, and we have to be creative. We have to embrace that. We have to know our new audience. We know that the domestic local market tends to drive in. They need a parking space, so they tend to drive as bigger cars. So we need to be accommodating to that. And it's going to be a matter of embracing that new type of customer. And also we have to train our team and be ready that the expectations of these guests might be different than what we have in the past. Currently the new market, even if they're paying less than $200, for them it might be a big investment, and they're expecting certain level of service and certain level of amenities. So I know we're going through a middle situation, but we have to do within our best to deliver that and to have a good experience for this type of guest, because also we have to remember that this type of guest is very social savvy, and they're ready to share the experience on all the social media platforms.
Yeah, so social media, do you think that social media, especially for those new guests, are even more important? As you said, they are very tech savvy. I mean, people from Northern California tends to use technology maybe a bit more than others because we are here in the center of the Silicon Valley. So what is your advice for social media? Because as you know, there is a kind of a shortage of employees, and it is hard for properties to do everything, right? And social media is probably one thing that they probably don't have the resources to do as much as they were doing in the past. You will find now a GM by the front desk sometimes, and he may have less time to answer those reviews or comments on social media. How can properties still be on social media, which is so important, and run their operation?
This is a very difficult situation for sure, and definitely with the labor shortage. I think more than ever, I think it's about educating your consumer and anticipating their experience before they arrive to the property. So you have a clear message, whether it's on your website, educating your consumer what to expect and how to what is the type of experience that they're going to enjoy when they arrive to your property. It's nothing wrong with saying, due to the current situation, our pool is closed, or we apologize because due to the current situation, our restaurant has limited hours. So if you share that with your guests in advance, I think you're more likely to have less negative comments. You do need to address it. I mean, I know it's hard, particularly when you get a negative comment. You do need to write back and try to do the damage control on that. It's definitely important. But I think it's really more about educating your consumer before they even arrive to your property, what to expect and what are the amenities available and what are you supplementing with. Or you may not longer offer that beautiful buffet breakfast that you have, but hey, we have this option. We have a beautiful gourmet coffee that is to go, or we are supplementing for the time being. And I think you have to spin it. You have to let them know that you're doing this to protect their safety and the safety of your staff. And then when you do that, people understand. I think they're more flexible. I saw a campaign from a couple of hotels in Southern California where they were being very mindful, and they were strictly reminding the consumer to be kind to the staff, because also the staff is getting burned and the staff is getting very physically and mentally burned out. So we need to protect the current staff that you have in property. But by doing that, you need to educate the consumer before they arrive. And also, maybe that doesn't help, a little sign, the check-ins, like, welcome to the hotel. Our team is here to assist you. Please be kind to our team type. Our team is front of, what do you call it? First responders almost, they are here. They came to help you and to look after you. So be kind to our team. I mean, it may sound extreme, but it does help. I think it's a matter of reminding the consumer that, we are going through a particular situation and not to expect anything back to normal yet.
It's funny you mentioned that, Bertin. I'm taking notes of everything you say. But because, we think about wellness for guests, right? Wellness is a very big thing and has been a big thing now for quite a few years, but even more now than ever. And it's interesting what you just said, because I think it's the first time I hear this, that as much as we think as wellness for the guest, it is important as well for the guest to know about the wellness of, the hotel employees, because, they are humans as well. And, we all need to be, to be well, to do our job well. So it's interesting that you have that view, because I never thought of it. But yes, there is definitely a lot more stress on staff, because
it's definitely very important. I actually had a meeting with a general manager for a property down in Hawthorne Bay, and she says, I'm not going to complain. We're up almost 80% compared to 2019, but this is not sustainable. She says, because the wear and tear on my team and the hotel is just incredible. So I need to find a balance. And she says, I'm now looking into those soccer teams that before I wasn't so inclined into it, but now I'm looking to have a little group based that will offer my property a longer stay and a little bit of group based per se. But I'm also reminding my guests to be kind to my staff because I have very few. I haven't been able to bring to find new talent. It's been very difficult. So yes, we have to be very mindful, and there are ways to remind your guests, be kind to our team. They're here to look after you, but as much as you're having a stressful and a very tough times, they're also having the same thing, and they're here to look after you, basically.
I'm going to ask you a question. Do you have a crystal ball next to you? How and when are we going to come from employees shortage, of hotel partners shortage at the property level? Because we hotels need people. They do have a hard time to find people, or they may not have yet the budget to be able to, to grow their staff. How do you see that situation evolving in time? What is your sense of it? What's your feel about, it's a tough one.
I think it's a difficult one, but from what I've seen, people are being very creative. I think our hospitality has always been really good at that, being creative and being very creative and be able to evolve. And what I've seen is that properties are hiring people that are younger, like right after high school, or they're bringing back the people that either retire or semi-retired to help. So they're almost like that middle generation is being skipped because they already pivot and they find other jobs. We lost a lot of our staff to other industries that are a little bit more stable, and to our surprise, they may be paying more. So it's those big challenges that we're facing. There are jobs up there that are a little more stable. There are other industries, and they're paying more, and they're particularly being more flexible with women. Women represent one of the largest forces in our industry. And as we know, throughout the pandemic, they have always, been looking after the children, managing the needy husband, managing parents. So they're superwomen, and they're also working. And if they don't have the flexibility, particularly in places where oftentimes the children are not back to school, they're still learning from distance or hybrid programs. So if you're not offering that flexibility to your staff, it's going to be another big loss. Because when you look at hotels, when you look at restaurants, it's the women that run all those big banquets. It's the women that coordinate those big events. They just naturally can multitask, and they're very talented when it comes to that. So I think you have to be creative, and I think a lot of hotels are already doing that. They're hiring very young, right after high school, or they're bringing back those people that were either retired or semi-retired, because the middle generation's almost gone. I mean, gone to a different sector.
Regarding the COVID situation and the situation of San Francisco itself, SF Travel had 2-3 weeks ago, this little meeting that we went to about the situation of the local economy, and it really looks like San Francisco will come back to the level of 2019 in a year or maybe 2 years from now, based on numbers they have, projection, all those groups coming back. That seem right to you? Does that seem something that you can see from people you are interacting with and visiting, that it will take a year up to 2 years for the city to come back to 2019 as far as economy wise and activity?
Yes, I think it sounds about right, to be honest. It's time goes quickly. Yes, it's not fast enough for ownership, but definitely. And one interesting about our city, it is well loved around the world. I think it's coming, but we do depend a lot on the international visitor. And under the current administration, the travel bans are looking to be lifted in November. So that's going to be a tremendous help for San Francisco. We are one of the most desired, one of the biggest gateway cities to enter the US, and also one of the most friendly when it comes to it. So it looks like, we don't know when in November, but definitely it's going to help. And then I think the return of the large groups is going to take a little while, and it has to do with liability, it has to do with protocols. And I think the corporate is also holding back a little bit. So, but we do rely on those two big sectors, but we're going to have to be creative and definitely tap more into the current pent-up demand on the domestic, not just within California, but also on the national level. I think some of the campaigns that are in place are really beautiful, and they're really inviting people from the East Coast to think of California as a place to be. And that's definitely going to help San Francisco.
How did you adjust to the COVID situation for the last year and a half? Because you used to travel a lot. You have, customers all around the US, from restaurant to hotels and others. How did you adapt to it? How did you handle it?
It was difficult. I was doing one trip international just about every month, and covering some of our top markets. So it was a transition, but after the first 3-4 months, and I got used to being home and really enjoying a little quality time with the family, and being able to manage my time. And technology came in handy, so we were able to keep in touch with a lot of our clients. And it has been more about being supportive, because everybody's going through the same thing. Your number one client from the UK, maybe in the process of the waves of laying off people. There was the waves of reducing, and the unknown whether those companies will be trading in the future or not. So it was a lot of that, just being there for your customer, that by now they're partners, they're friends, very supportive. And because of technology, we were able to still keep connected and keep the communication going. But I think for the business that we were able to reopen, such as Simcoe Restaurant Group, we were very fortunate, because not everybody was able to reopen right away. Not everybody was able to bring their stuff back. So by just being open, we were one of the very few options at Pier 39, and that helped us, because there was a pent-up demand. There was people that, as soon as they were allowed and feeling a little bit more comfortable venturing out, looking for restaurant options, and we were one of the few. And we have been enjoying a very healthy pent-up demand. Also, the ownership has been very proactive on, basically adapting, creating more outside seating, and being able to offer the outdoor seating has been also a big saving grace for us. Things like that. I mean, you have to really continually evolve and adapt to the new trends or the new necessities per se. And that has been quite successful. We have definitely concentrated on the domestic. My role has changed with them. We used to, attract a lot of international groups. I'm concentrating on more local business. I go around to the hotels, deliver information about the restaurants. We have created a referral program to get more referrals from the restaurants. So you see me more often on the streets, locally targeting the local business, the local hotels that can be partners and refer business to our restaurants that, some of the hotels, they still don't have their restaurant open. So it's very easy for them to create that experience for the guests and says, a restaurant's not open yet, but do go to Pier 39. We have great options for you. These are 5 restaurants available to you. So creating those alliances has been quite successful.
Bertin, we're getting close to the half hour, but I would like people to know, why should they reach out to you? In what situation would your expertise answer questions or projects they may have? Could you tell us what? Because you're a very good guy, and I know you for a very long time, and I want you to do good, and you're someone that can be trusted. So I want our audience to really understand, how could Bertin, and I'm sure they already heard what you said, but how could Bertin help me with my business?
Definitely. I think we have a very a strong knowledge when it comes to trade, very heavy on international contacts and contracts and clients around the world. BESI Business Solutions represents, myself and my founder partner, which is Simon Seen. So it's Bertin and Simon, and we have a specialized on covering the world. We do have great relationships around the world. So if you need international business, I think we can help you with that. Also, we have knowledge in terms of receptive tour operators, wholesalers, citywide conventions, or if you just need simple knowledge on how to target, how to establish your hotel in any given market, we're happy to assist you with that. Whether it's a hotel, attraction, or a restaurant. Also, we can be a very good resource to let you know what trade shows you should be in, what you should be consider, whether we do it for yourself or we do it on your behalf or yourself, or you can do it yourself. We're happy to recommend that. The landscape has changed, but one thing will never change is the direct relationship that you're going to have with clients. That's never going to change. And that's definitely more important than ever, having those partnerships. that contact you may have at holiday vacations or maybe hotel beds, maybe it's no longer there, but the company is still there, and you can actually build that bridge and get those business back into your properties as well. I think I can be very supportive when it comes to the trade or any knowledge or any reference that you might need for groups and initiatives like that.
Well, I know that if I speak for myself, you've been a source of information during the last 10, 15 years that is unbelievable. If I have a question about the industry or about anything, hospitality, this is you.
Thank you.
That I will call and ask questions. So you're a great resource for the industry, for the local industry. And I think we're very lucky to have you. And I hope that people who listen to us will reach out to you. I will put your contact information under. That's going to be on LinkedIn and YouTube. And hopefully you see people reaching out to you, because you're such a great source of information and you love the city. And it really transpires when you talk about the city. I can see that your eyes sparkles. This is it.
Definitely very proud and happy to help or assist anyone in their needs, for sure.
Very good. Bertin, thank you very much for your time. I hope to see you soon in the streets of San Francisco or somewhere else. Can go and grab a coffee. But thank you for your time. Anyone who wants to reach out to Bertin, once again, the contact, I will put it down below. And everybody, a few last words, Bertin, before we go apart. Anything you want to say on share to the group?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I want to remind everybody that we're a very resilient industry, and that things will turn around, and we just have to be persistent, and we need to keep strong and support each other in any shape or form. I think this is more than ever very important to have those partnerships and relationships with anyone within the industry that can support you, whether to learn best practice or to refer a piece of business. I think there's great opportunities right now, so we need to continue to work together as we always have.
Very good. Love it. Bertin, grazie mille. Gracias. Merci. Thank you.
Merci.
À bientôt. I'm going to stop the recording. Stay with me. À bientôt. Salut, Bertin.
Well,
ciao, ciao.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.